Hey there, guys. Good afternoon. Welcome to Entrepreneurial Live Interviews with Connie Fuksa. And I created this interview series on purpose to share with you guys entrepreneurs that are out there doing the things that you may have thought of, you may think are interesting, or also to share with you stories of people that, went through the struggles, gone through the successes. It isn't a magical button. It's somebody who saw something and decided to make something happen out of it. And so I've met so many amazing people. And this gentleman I want to introduce you to today is definitely one of those people. I just recently met Mike, and I got to learn so many things about, just some ideas that I had and maybe ways to change things differently. And just the spirit of being able to take something by the horns or by the reins and say, I'm going to make this happen. And this is Mike. So Mike, thank you so much for being with us today. This is Mike Wolf of Mike Wolf Mastery. And I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
For sure, for sure. Well, Mike, share with us first. Tell us about you. Tell us about Mike Wolf, the Mike Wolf that I recently learned about. Where did you come from? What did you, how did you get to where you are today? And what is it that you are doing today?
All right. Well, I'm these days I'm most known as a real estate investor and also a real estate mentor. But I've done a lot of entrepreneurial ventures over the years. I co-owned a pub, had a tomato sauce company, a furniture company. So I've dabbled in a lot of different, both bricks and mortar and online, but it all started my entrepreneurial. Well, we go way back. I remember I'm Canadian, by the way, and I remember when I was in like elementary school, my grandparents lived in New York and I lived in Canada. And I remember I'd get them to send me bubblegum and different types of bubblegum that we couldn't get in Canada. And I started selling that in class until the principal busted me and told me I'm not allowed to do that. But so that was my very first entrepreneurial venture. And but then if we fast forward, so I remember I was middle of grade 12 and had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And my parents had always instilled in me, doctor, lawyer, doctor, lawyer, doctor, lawyer. And terrified of blood, so doctor was off the table. That would never happen. And so by default, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. And so went to university, got my first degree. With that came a whole bunch of student loans, and decided, I'm going to pay these things off before I go back and get my second degree. And a buddy of mine, his mother was a manager at the phone company, which back in those days was government run. And it was union, paid really well, and took a job there. Decided very quickly that I'm not cut out for the corporate world. But in any case, while I was there, I bought my first residence. And shortly after I bought that, my mortgage broker called me up and said, "Hey, Mike, you're making good money. Your credit's good. If you want, I can get you another mortgage." And I go, "Why would I want another mortgage?" And he goes, "Well, you buy another home, you put tenants in there. They're making the mortgage payment for you every month. And then eventually down the road, you've got a clear title home, and that's your retirement." And I go, that kind of makes sense. So bought my first revenue property. A couple of years later, the market took off. I was still working at the phone company, by the way. And the market took off. And all of a sudden, I was sitting on all this equity. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, the last couple of years, I made this much at the phone company, and I made this much in real estate. And I don't even know what I'm doing in real estate. So that was the first time ever, though, that I had kind of my own idea of what I wanted to do for a living. I found something I was passionate about, and so quickly told my parents, I'm not going back to get my second degree. They're still kind of pissed at me to this day, but that's all right. And but the rest is history. So I found something that I loved, and afterwards, I pretty much lost a lot of what I made on the first deal, by the way, on the second deal, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But eventually found a mentor, and that changed everything for me. But over the years, of investing, once you get a reputation for being an investor, people are always sending different opportunities to you. And so that led to me, like I said, having a whole bunch of other ventures along the way. So I've got a lot of experience both in the bricks and mortar world and I've thanks to my teams become pretty good at the online world too. So but that's kind of my last 31 years in a nutshell, right there.
Wow. So many good things there that I wanted to expound on. But before we do that, I want you to share with me a couple of things. So now Well, let's just go back. Let's go back because I do want to talk about some now stuff too, but I want to lead up to that. So let's go back. So you realized very early on that first I like that your parents said doctor, lawyer, because haven't we all had our parents always say, you got to go to college and you got to figure out what that is. And I think that one of the problems is, and when you see what separates the entrepreneurs from people that do work in the corporate world, and thank goodness that there are those people, because, that's all of these pieces are what makes our country so great, but, and the world so great and functioning. But, that everybody tells you got to go to school and you got to do this and you got to do that. And so you go the lawyer path. Obviously, you never, ever step in anything in that lawyer path. Am I correct?
No, I never did. And I'm glad I never did, because, anybody who knows me knows, like, I'm the most non-confrontational person you'll ever meet. I'm very, very passive. And I certainly don't, I like to hang out in positive environments. The last thing I'd want to do is be hanging out with negativity all day long. I would have made a horrible lawyer. So I'm so glad that the universe kind of put me on a different path. And I kind of knew early on I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know how to do it. I didn't really know, I didn't really have the confidence to think I'd be successful at it. And my first entrepreneurial venture got busted by the principal. So then I thought, I better go find a different path. But the universe had other plans for me, luckily, and here I am.
Well, I love that story too about the bubblegum, because that it's the same theme. People, you see something and you say, okay, well, I'm just going to try this. Let's see if this works out. Just not afraid to be told, no, it can't work. You're not afraid when somebody does say, no, that's not crazy. And I think that's really a theme with a lot of people is, you have an idea, but or you think, well, let me try this. But people sometimes let all of that fear of it, somebody telling you no, and also, or your own self saying, no, that can't work. You just waited until the principal finally said no after you had already made a couple dollars, which is pretty cool. So no to the lawyer, no to the corporate world, which I find very interesting, because I think most people in the entrepreneurial space are, they either, it's like math or English. You're either good at one or you're good at the other. There's no in between. Same with the corporate world kind of thing. But a lot of people do it because it's the supplement into what they're going to do, which it sounds like that's what you did for a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, that kind of gave me some money to play with, and it helped me get into my first real estate venture. And I got into it totally by mistake. I had no intention of being a real estate investor. But when my mortgage broker called me and kind of explained to me why it makes sense to do that, it's like, okay, that makes sense. And so that was my very first investment ever. And of course, went luckily very well, not because I had the knowledge or the skill set or any kind of entrepreneurial education or real estate education. I had really good timing. And so that was actually a double-edged sword for me, because on the one hand, I was now I'm 54. Back then I was 23, 24 when I first got into real estate. And when you get success kind of by luck, and you're in your mid-20s and you're a guy, your ego kind of gets the best of you, and you think, oh, I know everything there is to know. So I promptly quit my job at the phone company, not even thinking, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get mortgages anymore, and told my parents that I don't want to be a lawyer. That's your dream for me. That's not my dream. And I thought, hey, I thought I figured out how to win the lottery, until I tried to go do my next deal and lost a bunch of money. And I think it's a good thing that happened. Sometimes I think for entrepreneurs, sometimes the worst things that happen to us are blessings in disguise. And that actually, I'm actually really fortunate. I told my parents I wasn't going to go to law school, and said, because they said, Mike, you should go get your next degree, and then you'll have something to fall back on. I said, no, I don't need it. And so the thing that kept me in the game is that I didn't want to ever tell my parents they were right, because I was in my mid-20s. It's like, I'm not telling them, there's no way they could be right. I'm right. And so I went, and then I eventually got a mentor to help me, and he was doing exactly what I wanted to do, and I hired him. And the rest is history, because I did that. But if I hadn't told my parents that, I would have said, yeah, you're right, and gone back to law school, and I'd probably be very miserable right now. No offense to any lawyers, by the way, that might be watching. There's nothing wrong with being a lawyer. I'm not cut out for that.
You're saying, yeah. And there's a lot of smarts to that, in that, following what you see, I'm looking at my notes, because as you were talking, there's so many pieces of information that I was writing down. But passion, talk a little bit about that whole passion and how you feel that, and how that is, the the right path or the steps that you need to take, and also how that fuels you daily, obviously, because there's pieces to this. We people always say, oh, follow your passion. Well, how do I really know what that is? And how do I know how to keep following it? And how do I use that as my resource to continue moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think firstly, we all know, I think we all know what our gifts are. There's things that light us up. Usually I give my students, when I'm doing mentorships, I give them an exercise, and I'll just do it really quickly because we only have so much time here. But I usually I get them to make 3 columns on a page. And the first one is the things that you're good at. And these are the things that people come to all the time and say, hey, Mike, I see you're good at real estate. Can you teach me something about real estate? These are the things that people come to. These are your gifts. So you put that in your first column. In the second column, you put the things that light you up, that you absolutely love doing, that you enjoy, that you do for free. And then in the third column, you put a list of the things that are a good use of your time. And in the old days, I used to say, put things that are good use of your time financially. Don't be doing minimum wage jobs. And now I also tell people to incorporate into that, hey, well, what's a good use of your time? Could you be hanging out with your kids or your grandkids? Could you be traveling? Could you be doing things that are fun? Is this a good, if you're mowing your lawn, if you're mowing your lawn, you could be going and creating memories with your kids. Don't mow your lawn. Hire somebody else to do it. But the only things that I believe people should be doing are things that fall into all 3 columns. So things that you're good at, things that you like doing, and things that are good use of your time. And I find so many people, like my parents taught me, Mike, you could be good at anything you put your mind to. And that's true. You absolutely could be. But I think when you do that, I think we're all put on this planet. We have these certain gifts, and those are the things you're supposed to do, and also the things that you like doing. And when you have that combination, then when something goes wrong, like for me, when that first deal my second deal failed miserably, I still remembered that, hey, this is the first thing I've done where I've really enjoyed it, and I'm making my own hours, and I'm not punching a clock, and nobody's telling me what to do. And yeah, it failed, but I'm going to get back up, and I'm going to show my parents that they're wrong and I'm right, and I'm going to figure out how to do this. And so if you're just doing something for the money, after your first failure, it's pretty easy to walk away and just be frustrated and say, no, I'm not cut out for this. But if you start to feel a passion for it and you realize, hey, this is what I'm meant to do, you're going to figure it out. You're going to keep persevering, getting back up, trying new things, and figuring out what works. So I'm very grateful, although I did have that very humbling experience. I'm very grateful that I did get back up and go from being a know-it-all to what I always teach my students: don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. And even to this day, you'll still see me at a lot of, when COVID's not around, you'll see me at a lot of conferences, and I'm always trying to work on myself, do a lot of personal development. I'm always wanting to learn from other entrepreneurs. So I'm always learning, and still to this day. And but when you do that, you're always going to figure it out. You're always going to get back up and try something different.
Gosh, I love that. And don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. And, this is definitely a theme that we all have to continue to be reminded that, you get to the point where you think, oh, well, my systems are working well and everything's running in the right direction and everything's sort of rolling along together. No, you can't stop. You have to keep learning more, because there's other things that you always can better yourself with, particularly when you expose yourself to other people like yourself, like other people that I've interviewed that have different experiences, that you see things in different lights. So thanks for that. That's a really good share. So let's talk about your parents for a minute, because one of the things that I think that I find a lot with entrepreneurs is the problem is sometimes the people around them don't always support them because they're not going in the traditional path. They're not going to school, they're not going to the next level of school, or they're going to try something a little bit crazy. I mean, I know one of the interviews I did with somebody who went to Howard University and it came out to be a doctor and was starting to go down that path and, go to the next level, and then found an online business that they decided they wanted to become part of, a direct sales company, and have killed it. And told her parents after, schooling and having all of the student loans and everything else, they were like, what in the world? Of course, she followed the passion. So that's what I love to hear about this a little bit. I mean, you probably have a great relationship with your parents, but parents are meant to, and their job is to make sure that we stay on the right path and keep our heads in the game. So how did you maneuver around that? Because I'm sure that was really difficult.
It was really difficult. And especially back then, I mean, I was extremely shy, and most of my friends, actually all my friends, pretty much said, you're not going to make it. But once I had a taste of that success, I knew I was going to make it somehow. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. I didn't have this big blueprint of what I was going to do. I just knew, hey, I like this too much to not make this work. And I am not going to go and go back to law school, and I'm not going to go work for the phone company anymore. I'm going to make this work one way or another. And to me, once I knew and once I had the confidence in my mind that no matter what, I was going to make it work, everything shifted. But it is very difficult because you know what, the people around us, not everybody's wired to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody understands us. And a lot of us think we're dreamers, and quite often we are, they're right. But we also make things happen if we stick with it and don't necessarily listen to the people around us. And so I just, once I got it in my mind, once I told my parents I'm not going to law school, that was off the table. Once I quit my job at the phone company, I burnt that bridge. And I don't recommend you do that, by the way, necessarily. Don't go quit your job right away. Matter of fact, if I could go back, I probably would have kept that a little longer. But in any case, it is what it is. But it's really important to stay away from that negativity. And sometimes they are your family, unfortunately. But you have to try to, you just have to be really steadfast in your mind. Once you know, hey, this is what I'm cut out to do. This is my gift. This is what I'm going to be good at, even if you're not good at it yet. Don't listen. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just keep plugging ahead and follow that dream. But also, I'd say, that 3-column exercise that I gave you. Don't be doing things just because, I think I can make money at this. Do things because you truly love it and you're gifted and you have a talent for it. Because if you try to do things you're not cut out for, like if I tried to make, I have an amazing team, by the way. None of my business, all my businesses would have failed if it weren't for my teams. But I bring in people who, if they filled out that 3-column exercise, they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. So my marketing people, that's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. That's what they're good at, and they love doing it. And it's a good use of their time because they get paid well. And so get the right people on your team. So don't try to figure out 100% of it by yourself, and don't try to, there's so many of us that become solopreneurs and we get stuck. I see people getting stuck because they can't make their web page. Get the right people on your team. If you can't afford it, find a way, figure out a way, but don't get stuck on the things that you shouldn't be doing in your business.
You bring up a couple of things that I talk about and I'm so passionate about all the time. One is exactly that, talking about your team. I talk about finding people. Don't waste your time on things that you don't like to do, because you're not going to continue to build that successful business that you want. You're not going to continue to flourish because you're not doing the things that you love, and you need to compartmentalize and put those things you don't love on a different page and there are resources out there. Let other people help you with those kinds of things. So I love that you brought that up. I mean, our teams are made up of not even just necessarily people that you pay, but you're talking about a mentor. So talk to us a little bit about the mentor process. When did you realize that maybe you needed somebody? How did you find somebody? And how did you obviously continue to have that 30 years later? You have somebody that you bounce things off of. So talk to us a little bit about that process and what that looks like and how that's evolved for you.
Yeah, well, these days I'm really lucky because my team are my mentors, because these people are all experts in what they do. And so if I come up with an idea, I just bounce it off of them. Back in the early days, though, like I said, the first success, it's a double-edged sword because it was totally based on luck. It had nothing to do with skill. But I was taking credit for it. My ego was saying, yeah, I get this. Nothing is going to stop me. I am a real estate expert. And then I had that next deal, which was very humbling and brought me right back down to earth and made me realize, okay, I only have so much money left. And if I don't make this next deal work, then I am going to be in really big trouble. And I don't know how I'm going to stay in this business. And I really did not want to leave it. And so I basically found somebody who was flipping homes and basically said, hey, listen, here's my experience. Here's what's happened. I have some money left. I want to do a deal. I want to partner up with you. I want to put some money in, and I want you to show me what you do. And so that's how I got. I couldn't afford to just hire somebody just to sit there and show me. So instead, I got them involved in a deal with me. We did a joint venture together, and that's how I learned. And we ended up doing quite a few deals together after that. If I could go back in time, I would have got a mentor before I tried to go off on my own and figure this out. I would have got a mentor early and avoided the mistakes, because so often the mistakes cost a lot more than the mentorship. And so you might as well just, just get out there, get the right people on your path, get that blueprint before you, the best time to have the map is before you go into the woods. So if I go back in time, I would do things a lot differently than how I did. But my advice would be get the mentor early, learn exactly how to do it, and then apply what you learn. That's the most important part too. Because a lot of people, they get trained on certain things, but they don't actually go and do it. They don't apply it. They always think I need one more thing before I start. Need one more thing, and the fear stops them. So get a good mentor and take action. Do what they say.
I love that you talked about partnering with a mentor, because so many people would say, oh, I can't afford this, or I can't afford that, or I'm just starting out. But, figuring out how to make it work. What a great story that is about, bringing somebody in. You went out searching for somebody who's done what you wanted to do, which is what, all of the experts tell you. Find somebody who's done what you want to do and, talk to them and try to get them to share that information with you. But you not only did that, you knew that it was probably going to cost you something to do it. Now, how are you going to make that work? And bringing them in as a partner, how creative and ingenious that is that. I love that. So I wanted to move on a little bit because we have so much. I mean, you just have so much to talk about. I just love it. Thanks for sharing your 3 columns with us too. That's a neat exercise. I really like it. I like to talk a lot about, are the people surrounding you setting your hair on fire? Or are they putting you out water on your hair? So, and that, it's the same kind of theory in that you maybe can't get rid of your parents and get them out of your mind. But what you can do is learn how to compartmentalize that, because this is your right path. And so I just recently was talking about that on a broadcast I was doing. So really similar. And thanks for sharing that really good information.
One of the other things I just want to put it in there really quickly is that, ironically, a lot of the people that were my naysayers, the people that were most adamant about me not getting into investing, saying you're not gonna make it, you're not cut out for that. So some of those people are now my biggest clients, just so you know. So so instead of listening to them, show them that they're wrong, and then so much so that they want to work with you.
I love it. I love it. That's great information. Thank you for sharing that. So talk to us a little bit about your business now. I mean, I know you and I talked, and I know you have your hands in a lot of different places, but before you get to that, I mean, obviously you managed the bar, you had the tomato sauce company. How did you go through these processes and get to where you are now? And then talk about exactly where you are now, what you're doing.
Yeah. So I'll talk about those other ventures first. So, which are not real estate plays. Basically, when you're known for investing, people know that I like to make my money work for me. These days, I don't really work that hard, relatively speaking. One of the things that I've learned is to work smart, not hard. And so, back in the days, though, I used to be a workaholic, and I've now become a playaholic. But back in the days when I a lot of people knew me. I'm up here in Calgary, Canada. I do all my real estate investing in the States, by the way, not in Canada. But in Calgary, where I live, I was quite well known by a lot of people as somebody who, does a lot of investing. And so one of my realtor friends came to me and said, man, there's this pub and it's failing miserably. And the guy is bleeding money. The guy is desperate to unload it. And I don't know that at that time, and I still don't for that matter, know that much about pubs or restaurants, but I have a very good friend. That's his passion. If you were to fill out those 3 columns, that's his happy place. He could stay in a pub all day managing it. Does it not bother him? He loves it. For me, I can't think of a worse thing that I'd rather be doing than sitting in a restaurant all day or a pub all day. But he loves it. And so basically, when I heard about this, I decided, he's told me horror stories. And he said, well, the reason I'm in my restaurants all day is the biggest enemy of a restaurant is employee theft. If you're not there, food's going to go missing out the back door, alcohol, everything. People are going to, it's a nightmare. And so basically when I got this call though about this pub that was losing money, I told my friend, hey, let's go check out this pub and let's go see what the scoop is. So anyway, the owner of it, before owning a pub, he owned a printing business. So he made business cards and flyers. And I think he watched too many episodes of Cheers. And he thought if he built it, they will come. And he built it, and they did not come. And so he didn't really know anything about marketing. He just wanted a place to hang out, I think, which is not the right reason to own a pub. So in any case, my buddy and I, we went in there, we ordered a drink, and the owner, we didn't tell him we were interested in buying it. He went behind the bar and poured the drinks. He had no staff, by the way, because he couldn't afford them. And he brought us our drinks. Then we ordered a pizza, went into the kitchen to make the pizza. There's nobody else sitting in the restaurant when we first got there. While he's in the kitchen making our pizza, somebody walks in, sits at the bar. They're waiting, and he's nowhere to be seen. So anyway, we immediately see, what we can do to make this successful. Oh, the puppies are excited too.
Work from home.
There you go. But But in any case, he was a one-man show. He's a solopreneur, had no staff. When you own a pub, the drinks at your pub taste exactly the same as the drinks down the street. So this guy sat at the bar. Eventually, he walked out, probably went down the street and had his drink somewhere else. So there were just some really minor tweaks we did. Back in those days, you couldn't just go to Starbucks for Wi-Fi. So we put a big sign outside saying, free Wi-Fi, and we made the business. Business people would come in at lunchtime. On Thursday nights, we would have live music. Friday nights, comedians. Saturday nights, live music again. And anyway, we turned this thing around. The reason I tell you this, though, I don't know anything about pubs. I still couldn't run a pub to this day. But I did a joint venture with my buddy and basically said, hey, you can have 50% interest in this bar. You don't need to put any money in. I'm going to have 50% interest in this bar. I'm going to put no time in. And it was a perfect win-win because on that 3-column exercise, like I said, his happy place is being in a bar. And for me, my happy place is having my money work for me so that I can work smart. And so it's a long way of saying that for people out there that maybe think, oh, I'm stuck. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. There's no such thing as really a how problem. A how problem is really a who problem. Who do you know that's the expert at the thing that you don't know how to do? And so I didn't mean to get into a really long story, but we owned that pub for a year and a half, maybe, made a lot of money on it. And he walked away happy. I walked away happy. The most important thing is not only do we make money, but we're still friends and we would do it all over again. And so, get the right people on your team that can do the things you can't and bring your resources to the venture. In my case, it was the money. In his case, it was the time. And you can do great projects, even if you're not an expert at something. And I did the same thing with tomato sauce. Anybody who knows me knows I do not know how to cook. If my life depended on it, you would not want me to make a tomato sauce. We had a very successful tomato sauce company because somebody else who's an expert had already done the heavy lifting and just needed some financing. And so we teamed up and made it successful.
Wow. I love listening to these stories because this is your entrepreneurial world, is working with other people, bringing in your resources and your know-how, as far as maybe not the business know-how for that specific type of entity, but putting the right people in place and knowing how to create that synergy, which is really cool. So talk to us a little fast forward as we sort of get close to the end of our time. Tell us a little bit about you now. What does real estate investing look like to you now? Because obviously it started with buying that place and then keeping it for a while, renting it out and then selling it. But obviously you're way into so many other parts of the world now. So
right.
Show us.
Yeah, so I've got 3 main revenue streams from real estate. One is the properties that I've been collecting now for like 30 years, mostly in the US, but I still have a few up here in Canada that I bought a long time ago. And I've got other people that manage them and collect rent, put the money in my bank account. So very, very passive, takes up none of my time. The second revenue stream, I have I sell turnkey properties in Atlanta, Georgia. And by turnkey, what that means is we buy, we'll buy homes in bulk from the banks. We fix them, put tenants in place. My property management team looks after them. We sell those to investors all over the world. And once again, creates passive income for them where they get the same thing I do. They have a property, generates revenue. They don't have to do any work. The team puts the money in their bank account. And then the third thing I have is, and this is because of all those naysayers who used to say you're never going to make it in real estate. Well, once I started to become successful, they started to see, well, if Mike can do it, we can probably do this too. And they started to always try to pick my brain. It's like they wanted to take me to Starbucks for a coffee and they thought I could teach them everything about real estate investing in like an hour. And so I decided to create some trainings. And so I do online and before COVID live trainings. And I take people for 3 or 4 days, teach them certain strategies such as tax deeds and foreclosures. This year with COVID, I got kind of talked into creating a year-long group coaching program, and I've been doing some 3-day online trainings. And since I can't travel, I've been actually loving it because it's keeping me busy, and I get to teach them something I'm very passionate about. So I do have trainings, and I teach other people who may want to get into real estate investing. And by the way, anybody who's watching, if you've ever thought about getting into real estate investing, now is the absolute best time. What's coming down the pipeline? We shut down the global economy. There's going to be so many people, unfortunately, in trouble, and a lot of people losing their homes, going from ownership to renting. And the thing that I love is I don't like the term real estate investor. I like the term problem solver. If we can go solve those people's problems and help them from either stop them from losing their home or at least help them have what I call a soft landing, meaning that, hey, instead of losing their home to the bank and being out on the streets or having to find a relative to live with, instead if we can make sure that they've got a place to live and damage deposit, couple months rent, money for food, and then we help them get rid of that home, give them a little bit of money in their pocket, then help them rebuild. There's a lot of money in that, and you can also sleep very well at night knowing you helped other people. And so that's the third division is training, and I've actually created an ebook for anybody who's interested, which I'll give for free, talking about the top strategies for people who want to get into real estate investing, top strategies you can do right now, even if you're locked down, which luckily most of us are not anymore, but even if you're locked down, stuff you can do from your computer. So I'll put that in the comment box. And if I can figure out how to do that, see, I'm not the tech guy. I'm going to delegate that to you.
I will take care of that for you. That was going to be my next question. So is there, things that you have coming up or going on for now because of COVID, there's not a big, an outside draw. You don't have a lot of other things going on. You're doing a lot of online things. So for now, the ebook is a fantastic offer. Thank you very much. And I will include that in the comments. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you after today, how do they do that, Mike?
Yeah, best bet is they can email me, mike@mikewolfmastery.com, mike@mikewolfmastery.com. I've actually got a 3-day online training coming up, November 20th to 22nd. So anybody who wants to attend that, I know that there's a lot of people right now that have to reinvent themselves. They've been, laid off from their jobs and the business that they worked at was closed, or I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, unfortunately, right now. So I made it $97 for 3 days because I want to train as many people as possible. That's great. Yeah, my mission for this year is to create as many ethical real estate investors as possible to go out on the front lines and help all these other people that are unfortunately going to be in trouble when the government stops, giving us checks, which I'm sure will happen very, very soon, unfortunately. And so I want to help as many people as possible if their passion is real estate investing, I want to show them how to do it properly and ethically and how to monetize it very well and turn that into a career. So.
Fantastic. Mike, can you tell us, I was busy typing and adding those things in the comment. Your 3-day class, can they find out more about it on your website?
They can. It's mikewolfmastery.com. And actually, when they download that ebook, there's a video. When you sign up for the free ebook, you're going to see a video that talks a lot about that event. And okay. So that'll be in there as well. But you can always email me, and if you need more information or if there's anything I can help you with, happy to do that.
Mike, I love that you're so willing to share information and help people learn more, do more, get information. I know when you and I talked, you actually were really helpful with me, giving me some ideas too. And this is just growing as entrepreneurs, helping each other, with different resources. And that's what the entrepreneurial world is all about. As we close up, because we're running out of time, unfortunately, there's so much more we could be talking about, but I really appreciate all that you've shared with us. Can you give us like your go-to piece of wisdom? I mean, the problem with entrepreneurs out there is, people end up getting themselves in a box and think that we're supposed to know everything. And then if you ask for help, it's not the right thing to do. And, not trying to find a mentor or reaching out to other people. And when you hit a stumbling block, knowing how to pick yourself up, no matter what that stumbling block was. So what is your go-to piece of advice that you can share with everybody today?
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice, especially right now during, COVID times is, to me, we've been as bad as COVID is for a lot of people, and in a lot of ways, there's also a plus to it. And it's created a lot more bandwidth for people like myself, for example. It's given me a lot more spare time. So use that time wisely. Use that time to reinvent yourself, to educate yourself. Take this time, and instead of, and Netflix is fine once in a while, but don't make that your go-to for the whole day. Take the time to go find what it is you're passionate about, what it is that you want to do. And realize that the new version of you after COVID ends, once things get back to semi-normal again, doesn't have to be how you came into COVID. You could leave afterwards a totally different person. And, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of people that need our help. We need to be leaders for those people. So if you've been kind of sitting on the fence thinking about, well, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? Or maybe what you were doing before COVID is no longer a thing anymore. Now's the time to reinvent yourself and come out stronger. And 5 years from now, you can look back on this time And as bad as it's been, in a lot of ways, you can look back and say, man, that COVID, it was actually, it helped me reinvent myself. And the version 2.0 of me is so much better than the 1.0 version of me. So use the time wisely.
Fantastic advice. I absolutely love it. Just, as you were relating that, as you were talking about your second real estate investment and how you look back on it now and say, gosh, that was a huge learning experience for me and definitely catapulted me into the next stage. That's exactly what you're sharing here with this. These experiences we're having. How are you changing yourself? How are you figuring out to come out of this and be a stronger you, whatever that is, and take the opportunity. You're sitting at home collecting unemployment. Use it wisely, take your time and learn something new, or learn how to do what you already really are passionate about. Take that time and share it while you're going through this. So, gosh, Mike, this has been so helpful and so much great information. And I wish we had more time, but I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And let's do it again sometime.
I would love that. All right, guys. Well, I have shared all of Mike's resources in the comments below. As you know, we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. The other thing is we're going to post it on LinkedIn. And as soon as we're done, Mike's going to be sharing it with everybody he knows. And then in a couple of weeks, we're actually going to have an article about all of it again. If you want to go back and watch this again, you can do it on either of our pages. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, ConnieFuksa.com, or Connie Fuksa at YouTube, or go to ConnieFuksa.com, which also all of these interviews are live there. The replays are all there, so you can go back and click on them. So, Mike, thanks again so much for your time. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks so much.
All right, you guys, stay tuned for our next Entrepreneurial Live interview next week, and we'll post some information about that soon. But for now, if you want to talk to Mike or you want some more information about the things he's doing, check out the comments. That's how to find him. And you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.